DeWitt wants to know how to juggle a full-time job with being a music producer. They love to fantasize at work about being a producer, and when they get home, they're going to have all these big plans to make music. But then they get home and they have other responsibilities to tend to, and then by the time they're done and they have time for what they want to do, there's no drive or energy, and then it's time for bed and back through the cycle again. And that is a great question. And I think a lot of people can relate to this question because so many people have important stuff to do and they want to make music, but how do you juggle both? So let's talk about it. And by the way, my name is Adam. I've been a music producer for over a decade. I do custom music, I do scores, I produce singer-songwriters and bands, and I also make a YouTube video every single Friday about music production. So if that's something you're into, go ahead and subscribe, and let's dig into this topic. So the first thing I would say is, logistically speaking, if you want to produce, but you also have other responsibilities, you need to take out all the friction in your life that you can when it comes to producing. So what I mean by that is, let's say you get off work at 5, you get home at 6, you vacuum the house, cook dinner, whatever it is. If it's 7:45 and you have until 9:30 to make music, you can't spend 7:45 to 8:15 setting up your computer, making sure that everything's where it needs to be. Like, you need your setup to basically either be set up all the time, so you flip on the screen, flip on your interface, and you're good to go, or you need to have some version of your setup that is ready to go at a moment's notice. Whether it's an iPad and some headphones with Logic on it and a USB mic, or whether you have a mic stand that just clips on your desk so you can just sing right into that mic that stays set up all the time. Maybe you have a keyboard tray under here that has a MIDI keyboard, and your studio can just look like a regular desk, but when you pop out everything, it's like go gadget studio, and you're ready to record in no time. Because if you are having to set up everything every single time and tear down and get your mic stand out of the closet and get your keyboard and build it all, it's not going to happen. If you have an hour to record and you're spending 20 minutes like actually setting up and trying to make sure you're getting audio, you're just not going to make stuff, because the amount of friction it takes to get set up is going to stop you from even bothering. So spend some time and really optimize your setup for flow. Like, sit in the chair, flip on a switch, and you're good to go. Now, number 2, if you have a limited amount of time to create, but you're fantasizing about producing and you want to do all this stuff, come with inspiration. If you sit down at your desk and you're looking at a blank session like this one every single time, and you have no lyrics written down, you have no voice memos of any ideas, you got nothing, you are going to struggle so hard, because you are going to have to find it within you to be creative and come up with ideas while you're producing. So what I would say is this: if you're on your lunch break or you're at work and you have a 10 minutes of downtime while you're on hold or whatever it is, write lyrics, come up with ideas, hum into your phone, whatever it is. Come up with stuff so you're excited. Hey, I had this little idea. I wrote down this little snippet of lyrics. I hummed a melody into my phone. When I get home, I am going to pull up this session, drop the voice memo in, pull the lyrics up I wrote on a notepad, whatever it is, and have ideas that you are excited to work on, that you already know kind of what it's going to be. So if you're at work, you can literally think, okay, I want to write a song about how it's hard in life to do this thing, and there's this character that's struggling, and the melody could be maybe this, right? So you can take that prompt, plug it in, and get to work. It's like somebody else started the idea for you in a way, and you're just motivated to carry that through instead of sitting here and flipping through presets and, oh, how do I start this song? Oh, what do I want to write about? I never have time to write. And then when I do, I never have any ideas. If that's your problem, you need to start grabbing bits and bobs from everywhere and come with inspiration, come with ideas. When you have ideas, you're going to actually record those ideas. If you're coming up with your ideas the same time that you're recording and writing and producing, and you only have an hour, then you have 1 hour's worth of ideas for your song instead of days and days and days of inspiration and ideas. And, it's not going to come easily to you. So just keep that in mind. And now number 3, this is a big one too. If you get home and you have energy, And that's when you're doing laundry and cleaning and scrubbing the floors and whatever else. And then you go to produce and you got nothing. Well, why did you use up your energy, quote unquote, to scrub the floors? You can scrub the floors half awake, listening to a podcast with no creative juice left. If you do that first and then you go work on music, well, you've just worked from 9 to 5, worked again from 5 to 8. Now you're supposed to work again from 8:30 to whenever you go to bed. It's just not going to happen, right? So what you need to do is decide, okay, am I going to work on music today after work, or am I going to do chores? And then you need to do one or the other, and do not cheat and multitask. So if you're working on music, do not go put a bunch of clothes in the washing machine and then set a timer. And then when the timer goes off, you go and you take the clothes and put them in the dryer, right? Or you hang up the ones that need to do whatever. Like, you're giving yourself reasons to stop working on music, to basically do some tasks that don't need to get done right then and there. Like, realistically, yes, you need to mop. Yes, you need to do laundry. Yes, you need to mow the lawn, but you can do those separate from working on music. So don't multitask. And if being where you live, being in your apartment or your house or wherever it is distracting you, because while you're sitting in your desk chair and you're working on music, you're thinking, oh, that corner over there has some stuff that I really need to organize and clean. If that is living in your brain, find somewhere else to work on music. Grab your headphones, grab your MIDI controller, get your laptop and your charger, and go to a dang Starbucks or go to the library and put on headphones. Whatever it is, get out of the place that is making you want to not work on music physically, and allow yourself to actually just focus on the music. If you go somewhere else and you can't do laundry, you won't do laundry, and then you'll forget about the laundry because you're working on the music. Some of the most productive days I've ever had is when I took my computer and my headphones and I went to like a cafe and I bought a coffee and a sandwich, and I sat there and I was like, I'm gonna edit every single thing I need to edit, and I'm not gonna leave this place until I do that. That way you're not, walking the dog, feeding the cat, cleaning the air filter, whatever it is. Like, you're not multitasking. You're just only thinking about the one thing you need to do. If you can do that, that is gonna be huge. And if you can't do it at home, go do it somewhere else. Now, one other thing that is super helpful for this is getting other people involved, because the truth is, if you are trying to do everything yourself every time, you are lifting like the whole couch, right? Making an entire song from scratch is hard. If you're coming up with lyrics, chords, melodies, recording it, producing it, mixing it, mastering it, that is one of the hardest ways to do music, because one person is doing all that stuff. It's just tough, right? So if you can find a buddy or a digital collaborator or whatever it is, give yourself some deadlines. Say, hey, on Saturday from 3 to 7, do you want to come over and write some songs? Do you want to help me record? Do you want to work on some stuff together? Do we want to do a co-write? Something like that. So you're giving yourself a time slot. You're allowed to get excited about it. You've told yourself, all right, I'm working on music with this person from this time till this time. So you're not going to mow the lawn instead. You're not going to forget to actually do it. It's important to you, right? And it's important to them. And the magical thing about when you work with other people is you can lift both sides of the couch. And when you have two people lifting, it doesn't feel like you're lifting half of the couch pounds wise. Like, it's a lot easier. So when you're bouncing ideas off each other and you're coming up with stuff together and you're rolling that into ideas, if it's working, it kind of feels like neither one of you is actually doing the heavy lifting, because the other person is there doing the heavy lifting. Like, I've talked to people after sessions and been like, sorry, man, I wasn't really, in the mood today or vibing today, and I feel like you did all the heavy lifting. And they're like, oh, what's funny is I was thinking the same thing. It's like, it's a lot easier to just work together with somebody. So if that helps you, give it a try. If not, at least schedule time for yourself. So say Saturday, I'm not doing anything but working on music. Set some timers, set some time limits, give yourself a to-do list, whatever it is, and just actually do it. Don't mix it in with everything else, and you will find yourself actually being more creative during that time. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that's a lot all at once. So if you have any follow-up questions or anything you want more details, let me know in the comments. All right, Empires SR wants to know how they can get the planner that I was using in my last video. So I'm actually making it. So this planner, the producer planner, is something that I've been working on for over a month now, and it's designed for music producers, and I've been prototyping it. This is actually a new prototype that has journaling prompts on every page, or a little like motivational things. So if that's something you're into, let me know, because the previous version just said notes, and this bottom section you could just write whatever you want. But this one, I put some journaling. So for example, page 1, I'm finding inspiration in blank. Today I'm creating because blank, and then something nice about myself. So if you wanted a version of this with these kind of prompts, let me know, because I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I think the notes section is nice because you can take notes, but these are also nice because it gets you thinking, gets your wheels turning. And, you know, a lot of us want to be more into journaling, but we're busy. So if that's something you would like, let me know. But if you want to make your own planner now using the PDFs, templates that I've made for this planner, I'm actually giving them away for free, because I'm going to sell this book. But in the meantime, I want people to be able to start using it and start actually putting this into practice, because I think it's super helpful. So I'll email you all the templates. Just go to the link in the description. You put in your email. I'll send you an email with all the templates. I'll send you an email when the book is out. And in the meantime, I'm going to hopefully send you guys some fun tips, and I'll reply to any emails I get. I've been having fun. I actually helped a guy named Jordan, I think, with his setup. He was having some technical questions, and he replied to one of my emails, and we went through, and I looked through all of his setup stuff, and I said this, this, and this, and this. I mean, I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying the more one-on-one conversations. So if you want to join the list, get all the PDFs, you can make your own planner. You can literally go to Staples and print out, you know, your own book. In the meantime, while I work on this one, go do that. It's been really cool, and I'm really excited, and people have been liking it and using it and sending me pictures of them filling it out. So thank you so much, everyone who's already got it. If you don't have it yet, the links are down below. But yeah, let's keep talking about music. All right, so D. John Spangler says that applying dynamic compression to avoid clipping in production is different from the format compression a consumer sees when buying an MP3 or AAC versus a WAV or AIFF. Maybe you can speak on this, as a lot of people don't really understand the difference. So that's an interesting question. I never really thought about the fact that both of those are called compression, but it does make sense why people would be confused. So the first one, compression, as you know, probably by now, but maybe not. Compression in like a mixing setting in a musical way, it's setting a line and saying, if this volume of this track starts to creep up to this line, we're going to let it go over, but we're going to turn it down a little bit. We're going to kind of keep the volume of this track consistent. And where you set that line is going to make a big impact on how your source sounds. And you can also set the ratio, which is how hard it's going to turn stuff down once it goes over that line. That's a very baseline explanation. I have a longer video explaining compression. I'll put a link right here. But compression in a musical sense, it's an effect. It's a way to control volume in hopefully control dynamics, or make things feel bigger, make things compressed. You know, it's a musical effect. It's in your mix, it's on your mix bus, it's in your mastering, and it's a way to shape the sound of the song, of the track, to get it to sound the way that you want as a music producer, as a mixer, as an artist. It's a tool for music creation, basically. Now, compression for files is more of like a logistical process. So you're not compressing a wave into an MP3 by squishing it and making it sound compressed. What you're really doing in that sense is you're cutting out the detail of the song in places that don't necessarily matter as much. So let's say the extreme high-end frequencies, the really airy, sparkly stuff. There's a point where most people can't hear a ton of detail in the high end. So what an MP3 does from a wave is it kind of just cuts off some of that information. So it's saying, not everyone can hear this that great. It's not super important to the real sound of the file. So we're going to lop off some of that, right? And then it's saying the low end, maybe we do a little bit of that too. And we cut out some of the information so the file's not as big. And maybe there's some areas where, think of it like a 4K TV, right? So you've got all these pixels across the TV. Well, on the sides, that's not where as much detail is. So maybe the sides of this TV, which would be your MP3, the sides are going to be 1080, and maybe the bottom, and maybe the top, and maybe the very far sides will be 720p. So there's kind of less pixels in the places where it doesn't matter as much. And for audio, you can kind of do the same thing. So you're kind of just creating a sliced up version of the song that is able to be folded in to a smaller and smaller box until it's the size of the file that you need. So an MP3 might be a quarter of the size of the WAV, but then there's 320 kilobyte MP3s or 128 or whatever it is. There's just smaller and more squished down versions. You get to the point where you can hear a pretty big difference. Like if you compress it down to where this giant hour-long audio file is really tiny, yeah, you're gonna hear a difference. There's gonna be a lot less detail. It's gonna sound kind of bad, but they've thought, okay, the 320 or 328, 320, tell me down below, I forget. That sounds good enough that the average person isn't gonna complain, right? So that's what compressing the actual finished file is. It's taking the big HD high quality song and it's squishing it down to fit into the file that you can upload to the internet very quickly, or email somebody, or upload as a podcast, and it's not going to take 10 hours to download because it's 4 hours of giant audio files, right? So it's a utilitarian thing. It's not about making the song sound better. It's about making it fit into a to-go box. You know what I mean? So that's the difference. Hope that makes sense. Hopefully. I think I explained it all right. But yeah, that's where we're at. So like I said before, I'm dropping a new video every single Friday, and one of my favorite things to do is these Q&A videos because it really lets me think about things that I've never really thought about or try to put them into words that, you know, I've just been doing or experiencing. So if you have questions, let me know down below, and if I don't have the answer, then I'll find someone who does and I'll get them on the channel. If you want to see an example of that, I've got one here with my buddy Josh, who's a Grammy-nominated engineer and mixer, and he's got a lot of Billboard #1s, and there were some questions I thought he could help with, so I brought him in. So if you want to watch that, watch this video next, and I'll see you next week for next week's video.